Welcome back. You're watching Inside Politics. We're on to the last bit of it before we call it a day. And it's time to hear your views on some of the topics that we've conversed during the show. Time for your call. I understand we have Joshua Mutinda from Untitled Chapter. Joshua, good afternoon and thank you for watching Inside Politics. What are your thoughts? Good afternoon, Joshua. Joshua, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yeah.
Yes, great. Thank you for watching Inside Politics. Your thoughts? All right, we seem to not have Joshua ready. Let's speak to Jack OGALO, who is joining us from the county of Migori. Jack, good afternoon. How are you today? Good afternoon, Jack.
Hello.
Yes, hello, Jack. How are you?
I'm fine.
Yes, your contribution to the show this afternoon?
Yes, I want to talk about retired general pay.
Yes.
On the issue of appending the signature.
Yes.
That should not be an issue to us because we will have the final say in the referendum. Even him.
Yes, continue, Jack.
Even him.
Yes.
Even if he's not pleased with whatever happened.
Yes.
He can prove that in the ballot.
Yes.
When eventually we reach there.
Okay.
And then the next issue on the State of the Nation address.
Yes.
His Excellency should speak on the issue of food security. And it must come clear how our Kenyans are going to put food on the table.
Okay.
This is because the pandemic really affected us.
Okay.
And the income has increased.
Thank you so much, Jack, for joining us. Jack OGALO there joining us from Migori. Let's go back to Joshua Mutinda. I hope you have him now. He's calling us from Untitled Chapter. Joshua, what's your contribution to the show this afternoon?
Yes, good afternoon, Akisa.
Good afternoon.
Allow me to start by commenting on Major Sei's issue. I think it's quite unfortunate sometimes as a senior citizen when we say things without evaluating the consequences. I would look at it as a very responsible way whereby such a senior citizen signs a document without reading it. I want to address something that Robert said, that the BBI process was a game of conmanship. At times I would want to ask Gloria, really, what is more conmanship than when you self-appoint yourself as a youth representative purporting to represent the issues of youth in this country, yet the demographic that you represent is your own stomach. It is an insult to the many Kenyans who actually made their contributions to the committee, and when such words used by Gloria are quite unfortunate.
Oh, thank you very much. Gloria will be responding to that shortly. Gloria, I hope you've noted that down. That was Joshua Mutinda joining us from Untitled Chapter. Let's speak to Hilary Kipkoech now, calling in from Kitui. Hilary, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, what's your contribution this afternoon?
Nitaongea katika lugha ya Kiswahili.
Tafadhali.
Kwanza ningeanza na BBI.
Yes.
Ambaye kuna Meja Feli anasema kwamba nilazimishwa kutia sahihi katika mambo ambayo hajasoma. Ningependa tu atuelezee sisi kama wananchi ni nini ambacho aliambiwa asaini ambacho amesoma ambacho anapata kwamba hakiko kwenye hicho kitabu. Na ni vizuri pia wakati tunazungumza ama kujadili kuhusu BBI, tuwe tunajadili kuhusu BBI yenyewe tukitoa pendekezo na maoni ambayo yako ndani ya BBI kuliko kuwazungumzia watu ambao labda wanazungumza katika hali ya kisiasa. Kwa sababu mimi mwenyewe natoka Nandi, lakini ukiangalia sehemu hizo hakuna maendeleo yoyote ambayo yamefanyika. Ingawa tunaye kiongozi ambaye ni William Ruto. Nilikuwa nikiangalia jana katika televisheni ya Kikwetu kule inaitwa Kas. Kuna profesa anaitwa Rugut na mwingine anaitwa Kaitani Doctor ambao wanashurutisha wananchi kutokupigia BBI kura ambayo hawajasoma wenyewe na hawana hata reasons ambazo zina warudisha wa Kenya kutosoma. Kwa hivyo ni vizuri waache sisi wa Kenya tusome BBI, kama ni mbaya tutakataa.
Asante Hilary, asante sana kwa kutupigia. Hilary Kipkoech there calling in from Kitui saying we should not base this on personalities but leave the decision to Kenyans at the end of the day. Bernard SIBWOGA calling in from Nyamira now. Bernard, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Yes.
I want to talk about BBI. Because from the word go, if you look at BBI, you can say the process they followed actually was fake. And that's why we are ending up having a document which is actually bringing more division, even from the political class and to the Kenyans. I also want to talk about the USA electoral process. You will find that because the United States of America has a very good electoral process, which is independent, that's why we are able to end up having what the people need. That's why we were able to come up with Joe Biden being the winner. And that's what we really need to learn from that process.
Right.
And also from that election, we must learn that if in Kenya we cannot make the electoral process to be, and now when we are having a BBI where we are actually being told that the parties should have commission, should actually be electing commission to it,
right,
which will actually not really make it to be independent.
Thank you, Bernard.
Need to learn that.
Thank you, Bernard. Thank you so much for calling in. Bernard SIBWOGA, they're calling in from Nyamira County. We'd like to end it at that so that we can give our panelists a chance to give their final comments. Of course, I'll start with you, Gloria. Someone has said that, who do you represent when you call yourself a youth policy advocate, saying that perhaps they're not in line with a lot of things that young people have to say? I'd like to give you a right of reply on that.
Akisa, I am 34 years old. I fall under the youth category according to our constitution. And it is my civic right and my civic duty to question, critique, support, or otherwise any government initiative, because that is what we are supposed to do as citizens of this country. And then in the spirit of patriotism, which is actually being emphasized in this Building Bridges initiative, in the spirit of patriotism and actually trying to play my role in the socio-economic of this country, I am standing here as a youth saying I'm passionate about the youth agenda and I'm going to take my civic duty very passionately, and I'm out here working for myself.
All right.
On the matter of being paid, I don't receive any money from anybody.
Thank
I'm
you.
actually an active.
Thank you, Gloria.
Just like you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. You've, fair enough. You've addressed yourself on that. Dismas, let's get your closing remarks. I'd like us to keep it 30 seconds each as we wrap up.
The U.S. elections has given us very good indications on how bad leadership can mess up a nation. Some people decided to abstain from the election and others went to the election, and they elected a gentleman called Donald Trump, who without a lot of effort has managed to cannibalize the state called USA. Now, when we come back to Kenya, we need to look at the scoreboard carefully when we look at 2022, so that we do not elect people who have got a very high appetite for assaulting Article 10 and Chapter 6 of the Kenyan Constitution. If we make that mistake and vote for people who run with voodoo economics, voodoo philosophies, it will be 10 lost years. So we must look at the scoreboard and be very careful and vote with our selfish interest in mind.
Right. Thank you very much, Jero. Your thoughts on all the topics we've canvassed. What would be your final comments as we wrap up?
My final comments, Akisa, and thank you, is when it comes to electoral justice, part of what is also missing is the diaspora vote. And I always say this, and I want to keep underscoring it. Supreme Court issued a ruling. And if we're going to have electoral justice, all Kenyan voices must count, whether they're in Kenya or in the diaspora. And the second thing I'd like to say is if I say the names, Reverend Timothy Njoya, or the late great Professor Wangari Maathai, or Boniface Mwangi, what comes to mind? Kikuyus or patriots? And this is the direction I want us to start thinking as Kenyans. We must be patriots first. We are Kenyans first. Our ethnicity comes second. And we should no longer allow our ethnicity to be weaponized so that we can fight each other and allow elite compacts to prevail.
Mark Bichachi, let's get your final comments.
Akisa, I sat on this very show in 2017 in between two elections. And I remember I was one of the people who asked that for peace to reign in this country, that our leaders need to have a conversation. When Uhuru Kenyatta shook Raila Odinga's hand, I remember breathing a sigh of relief because my country was on tenterhooks. 2 years have not erased my memory. Now my question to my fellow citizens, has 2 years erased your memory so badly that you're unwilling to prepare and make Kenya better for 2022? Just like the Americans today have been refreshed that if they vote in the wrong person, there's a price to pay. But they're also relooking at their constitutional provisions because the challenges that Trump is giving to this election has forced them to look again at their electors, at their state delegations. Can we do the same?
Thank you, Mark. Husband, you're having the last word on the entire show with your final comments. Your thoughts?
Well, I think my thoughts go back to what we've discussed here and what Mark has espoused quite solidly about the gains that we've made despite the COVID pandemic, the growth of the economy, the opportunities that we've had, the stimulus program that the President Uhuru Kenyatta has instituted, and generally the progress that this country has made. And I think the constructive conversation that would want to see is the trickle-down effect. How does that villager in Nyikendo, Suna East, where I come from, realize some of these benefits, including the universal health care? How do they have access? I think that is the conversation that we need to have. To what extent is the common mwananchi on the ground making progress in their life?
Thank you very much for all of you for joining us. Husband Awil is a political analyst, Mark Bichachi, a communication strategist, Dismas Mukua, political risk analyst, Gloria Roba, youth policy analyst, and finally Jertich, development consultant. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us on the program. But let's finish up by taking a look at what Kenyans are saying on our social media platforms. Dr. Gilbert Nyakundi says the argument that people were allowed to present their suggestions to BBI task force but did not, and now they're opposing the report, is far-fetched. People actually presented their suggestions that were largely ignored. Don't these people have a right to demand for inclusion of their suggestions in the report? Why are they being dismissed? Kevin Omondi says the BBI process was done openly and the people gave their views, but it's better for our politicians to embrace dialogue and allow for amendment to be made in order to reach a consensus. Let's take a look at someone else. We have Wilson Dungu Njenga, who says BBI can fight corruption, create jobs or promote peace, but Kenyans will solve everything. Not sure I understand much on that. Kevo Wadadori says amendments should be embraced. In fact, everything is subject to change. Only the 10 commandments were not. The politicians should agree on a common ground to avoid having a highly contested referendum that will polarize the country further. And finally, Francis Chengoli says BBI is a waste of money and time. All issues proposed can be addressed if the 2010 Constitution is fully implemented and through legislation, policy and administratively. A lot of your comments, I can't possibly read all of them, but thank you for joining us here on Inside Politics. To our panelists and our audience, always a pleasure to have you here with us. I am Akisa Wandera. I'll see you tonight on Checkpoint. I'll be speaking to Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe. Where are we in the fight against COVID-19? We're talking about a second wave. Are we prepared? What are some of the things we need to put in place? And as well, what is the roadmap to UHC? He'll be speaking to us on the state of healthcare in the country. Thank you for joining us. Keep watching KTN News. Ashley Mazuri comes in next with Weekend at 1. Stay with us.